Initiation by Elisabeth Haich. Chapter 11. First Visions of the Future. During the 6 years I was engaged, something happened that was so surprising and so impressive. It had an effect on the direction all my later life was to take. Through it, my attention was guided towards a world lying hidden deep within the human being, the unknown, unconscious world of the human self. I was 15 years old when I discovered that I was sometimes able to see the future in dreams, very precisely, as if what I was seeing were a faithful reproduction of reality. What occurred then happened again later at various times and still happens today, always in the same manner. At first, my dream runs through all kinds of chaotic, irrelevant pictures, and then suddenly, as if a curtain were pushed to one side, I see colorful, plastic, and logically connected pictures with absolute clarity, just as in real life. In that first clear dream of the future, I saw, in my parents' bathroom, a young man holding a newborn baby. The baby was all blue as if suffocated, and the young man was trying to get it to breathe. A woman assistant stood beside him ready to help. The child was not breathing. The doctor held it first under ice-cold water and then under hot water. And then he held it head downward and swung it to and fro. And when it finally let out a cry, all of us round about heaved a sigh of relief. From where he stood in the doorway, Father now ran to Mother's room. He fell down on his knees beside her bed. He laid his head on the edge of the bed near Mother and sobbed, as I had never seen this strong man sob before in all my life. Mother was very pale, but she smiled tenderly and she stroked Father's black hair. Father calmed down after a while. He got up and he went into the next room where Aunt Rafaela and her daughter were waiting to be able to visit Mother. Curiously enough, in my dream, I was able to look into all the rooms simultaneously, which of course would have been impossible in reality. Another thing that struck me was the young man, after turning the baby over to the assistant, came out of the bathroom, walking with a peculiar gliding gait. I also noticed his pretty curly blonde hair, and very distinctly I heard him say, "Mother and child are out of danger, but need absolute quiet. If anyone comes to visit them, I cannot take responsibility for any infection that may occur during this present condition of weakness." "Of course, doctor," answered Aunt Rafaela, and I saw how she sensibly took her leave and went away with her daughter. Then the picture blacked out, and I awoke. The next morning I ran to Mother, and I told her my dream. Mother laughed and said, "Please don't dream things like that. I have enough children." "And what is Aunt Rafaela doing in this dream? She doesn't even live here. And who is the handsome young man with the gliding gait and the curly blonde hair? Your dreaming like this is about good-looking young men seems very suspicious to me." "I don't know who he is, Mother, but I saw him just that way in my dream." Later, at lunchtime, we all discussed my strange dream for a while, but by the next day, nobody gave it another thought. Haifa, year later. Oh, there's a typo here, I see. I guess it says half a year later, Mother felt very ill. She could not eat, and the doctor suspected that she might have a duodenal ulcer. They x-rayed her and made other examinations. The result, no exact diagnosis. Our doctor advised Mother to see a famous gynecologist. After his examination, the old professor said, "Congratulations, at the end of this great sickness will be a baptism," and he laughed gently. Mother came home in depression. She was already 39 years old. Little by little she calmed down, however, and 6 months later, exactly a year after my dream, when no one could have believed that we would have another addition to the family, the little baby arrived. The old professor recommended a young doctor who had already gained a great reputation for his skill. When the baby was born, it seemed to be dead of suffocation. It was 20 long minutes before it took its first breath. Father was so exhausted from the protracted worry that when the danger was over, he sank to his knees beside Mother's bed, and, strong man that he was, he sobbed like a baby. Aunt Raffaella and her daughter were visiting us briefly en route to Italy. They spent 2 days with us, and the child was born just as they were ready to go. They waited in the next room, and when Father came in to say that all was safely over, Aunt Raffaella asked whether she might see Mother and the child before her departure. Then the young doctor came into the room. He had curly blonde hair and a peculiar gliding gait. He then said exactly, word for word, what I had heard him say in my vision. Indeed, everything happened exactly as I had already experienced it. It was as if I had seen part of the motion picture a long time before other events in the film, and completely separate from them. From then on, I often saw future events as dream pictures with precise details. At first, this experience always came to me in dreams. Every time it was as if a curtain was being shoved to one side. Later, however, I was able to enter this state intentionally by an act of will, without being asleep. But this only came much later. My new baby sister was almost like a granddaughter in the family. Greet was then 19, I 16, my brother 9 years old. She was everybody's little darling, but the attention she received pushed us 2 older children pretty far into the background, and we often found ourselves alone. For several years, only our governess accompanied us when we went skating and to concerts and parties. Mother was just as busy with our new little sister as she had been 9 years before, when my brother was born. No wonder they had no time to bother about my affairs, even when they noticed I was having disputes with my fiancé. I had to fight my battle alone, without help.